Hi there guys, this is Danny and welcome to today's episode of All Monsters Go to Space. I'm going to be taking a more in-depth look at the Greek goddess Hera. I've already covered in a previous video that she was the eldest daughter of Kronos and Rhea, married to Zeus and had a jealous and vengeful nature. So Hera had at first refused Zeus's proposal, but this just deepened his love for her, so preying on her empathy for animals, he transformed into a small cuckoo bird, had created a thunderstorm and pretended to be in distress under her window. She took pity and brought the bird in and held it to her chest, so it retransformed and took advantage. In her state of shame, she agreed to marry him, and at their wedding, all of nature burst into bloom. Her children by Zeus are the underworld goddess Angelos, Ares, the goddess of childbirth Aletheia, Enyo the war goddess, and Iris the discord goddess. It is also said that Hebe, goddess of youth, Hephaestus, and the great serpent monster Typhon were born by Hera alone, primarily to spite her husband. There are so many stories including Hera, far too many to mention in such a short video, so I will only mention a few, starting with one of the most famous. Alcmene was pregnant by Zeus with Heracles, so named as Glory of Hera, and Hera tried to prevent the birth by having Aletheia tie her legs, and she was stopped when Galanthus scared her, and thus Heracles was born. All through his life, Hera has tormented him. When he was an infant, she sent 2 serpents to kill him, but he defeated them. As an adult, she drove him mad and ended up killing his family, which led to him having to do his famous labours, during which Hera tried to make him fail. But in the end, Heracles saved her from the giant Porphyrion and they became civil, even to the point where she gifted her daughter Hebe to him as a bride. Another story is of when Hera discovered that Leto was pregnant with Apollo and Artemis. In anger, she convinced the nature spirits into preventing Leto from giving birth on land or any island. Poseidon took pity and guided her to the floating island of Delos. Hera had also kidnapped the goddess of childbirth, but was bribed by the other gods with the most beautiful necklace into letting her go. And last but not least, one of my favourites, or at least containing one of my favourite characters, is of Io and Argos. Hera saw a lone thundercloud. Knowing it was her husband, she went to catch him in the act. Zeus saw her and transformed Io into a pure white heifer. Hera demanded the cow, and unable to refuse, Zeus gave it to her. She tied Io to a tree and made her immensely strong and loyal servant Argus guard her, as he had 100 eyes and only ever closed half of them at any one time. Zeus commanded Hermes to lure Argus into an eternal sleep. Upon hearing of his death, Hera mourned and put his 100 eyes into the feathers of her sacred bird, the peacock. Io reached Egypt and became worshipped as the cow goddess Isis. Hera eventually allowed Zeus to transform her back into her human form, where she gave birth to the new king of Egypt, and Zeus was also forbidden to ever see her again. Hera bore many various epithets like Teleia, the goddess of marriage, she of the height Acraea, and even Agaphagos, the goat eater. I've already briefly mentioned before that Hera was the first deity to have a roofed temple in Samos, but the dates and evidence of this have been confused, as there have been many other temples built on the site, like the Heraion, one of the largest of all Greek temples. There was a temple by Rhoetean sculptors and architects, and was destroyed between 570 to 560 BCE, to then be replaced in 540 to 530 BCE by the Polycratean. There had been no evidence of tiles being found in this area, so it's difficult to ascertain as to whether the temple was open to the sky, or was unfortunately left unfinished. There's also evidence of Hera having temples and sanctuaries dedicated to her in the Mycenaean city-states of Argos and Mycenae, and even in Olympia, Corinth, Tiryns, Pericora and Delos. The temples in Magna, Grecia and Doric were constructed in approximately 550 BCE and 450 BCE at Paestum. One of these was the Temple of Poseidon, which in the 50s was actually discovered to have been dedicated to Hera instead. She also possessed one of the earliest temples at the Paestum, dated around 5th and 6th century BCE. In the Temple of Hera at Olympia, the statue of Hera is actually depicted as being older than the statue of her husband Zeus, who is portrayed as a warrior. This could be showing the fact that she was actually older than him and the firstborn. The Grecian philosopher Homer expressed her relationship to Zeus with this line in the Iliad from Hera to Zeus: "I am Cronus' eldest daughter, and am honourable not on this ground alone, but also because I am your wife and you are king of the gods." A fierce woman indeed. Well, I hope you enjoyed this more in-depth look at the Grecian Queen of the Heavens. If so, leave a like, subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you know of any information about Hera that I may have missed, please let me know in the comments section below and I will see you in the next one. Bye!